Aloha and welcome to The Art of Life. I'm your host Willow Chang Alion, and it is a beautiful December 13th, Friday the 13th, here in the year of 2013, slowly closing out this year. I want to first offer an apology to any of our viewers that might have tuned in the past 2 weeks. I was absent, it's true, and I had high hopes to do a show from abroad on the road with Skype, but given the logistics and the time difference, it was not possible. So again, my apologies in advance. I'm so glad to be back here in Honolulu. Just got off the plane 24 hours ago as of right about now, so I'm fighting a little bit of the jet lag, but I'm thrilled to share with you some of the insights and reflections that I had about this trip. So just to give you a heads up, I went to 2 countries over about a 3-week period. I went to both Germany and Switzerland. I've been to both countries numerous times in different locations. This time I went to Duisburg, which is a part of Dusseldorf. This is something I learned of interest, is that the Germans say it very quickly like a sneeze, unlike most of us Americans who say it like this, Dusseldorf. You want to say it very quickly, Dusseldorf. So, Duisburg, Germany is the home of Leila Giovanna. She's a wonderful Oriental dance artist that translates as to belly dance, dances from the Middle East and the other regions. And for the past 20 years, she has put on a large Oriental dance festival that spans 10 days. Check them out, 10 days with over 60 workshops, probably as many teachers, artists, and attendees from all over the world. And I was invited to come teach and perform. So, yay, Hawaii! I also spent time teaching and performing in both Zurich and Basel in Switzerland. And what I thought I would do is I wanted to share with you some photos I took on my trip, haha, and give some insights of things that I thought that might be fun for the powers that be here in Hawaii to maybe adopt or co-op or be inspired by some of the things that they do over on that side of the pond. So our first image here, I don't know if you can see this, but this is a heraldic shield, and you will find these all throughout Europe, especially in Switzerland, because Switzerland is comprised of various cantons that are they're kind of like villages. That may not be the appropriate term, but I'm going to use it for now. And within each of these like cantons, they each have a shield that reflects and represents that region. So if you go to Basel or Switzerland or Ville or Aargau or any of these other places, probably Montreux, different places throughout Switzerland, you're going to see this image as a source of identifying the people and the place, the values and the customs. Now, how can we use this in Hawaii? Well, we already have a shield. We have a beautiful shield that has a depiction of ali'is, and it has our state motto and our flag and many different things, including the crown, which is a nice significance to the Hawaiian royalty. Why don't we use this with more frequency as branding and as identification? I think it's also respectful to again pay homage to the local host culture, which is that of the Hawaiian culture. That's just one idea that I had. I think it's an image that is underused, if not even used at all, and I think it's something we should look into. The collective we, whoever's out there watching. Are you listening to me, HBB? So that was my thought. I think we have another picture here. I've been rambling about shields, but the image has changed, so we're really fluid here, folks. This is a picture of chocolate. I am a chocoholic, as many women are, but people all over the world love chocolate. And Switzerland, I was going to try to say Switzerland and Germany, Switzerland. I'm making up my own language. Switzerland and Germany, in addition to Belgium, I'm going to throw the Belgians in there, they're all known for their chocolates. They have different takes on chocolates and different approaches to what they find desirable in the chocolate, but regardless, it is, if you love chocolate, you will be in heaven. Now, these photos are simply taken at one of the supermarkets in Switzerland known as Coop. It's spelled C-O-O-P. I thought it was coop, like chicken coop, which made all of my friends giggle in delight. It's actually Coop, Coop. So, Coop is one of the largest supermarkets in Switzerland. Its counterpart is Migros. and they both create wonderful, fantastic in-house products, and it is a shopper's paradise. And I asked my friends, do people define themselves as a Coke person or a Migros person? And apparently they do. So I guess this is like Coke and Pepsi. But regardless, the chocolate selection, why am I rambling about this? There are so many types of chocolates, and clearly you're at the source. However, my American friends, Hawaii has a small chocolate industry that is blooming and it's in its infancy. We also have an annual chocolate festival that's held, if I recall, in February over at Dole Cannery. Amy Hammond helps put that together, and Corinne Ching was very instrumental, I should say, in introducing chocolate as a viable concept and reality as a resource for Hawaii to create and to produce, because given our soil and our temperature, we're one of the few places that can actually grow cacao plants. So I think we should take the initiative to expand on this industry. People love chocolate no matter where you are. It is completely a part of every festive holiday, from the Christmas season to Easter, Halloween, and what have you. My goodness, Valentine's Day. There's no need to have a holiday to enjoy chocolate, and there's many variations that everyone is bound to find something to their liking. So it's something that just seems like, yes, I know we have the Maui Karamak and we have the Hawaiian Host, but we need to expand on that. When I came to the show today, Madre Chocolate just opened up right near Hawaii Theater. So there's the roots, the means, and the resources to build this industry. I think it's something that should really be looked into. My 2 cents, of course, not necessarily the opinions and views of Think Tech Hawaii. So there we go, chocolate. Okay, moving right along. Here's a picture of me. It seems like a vanity-driven issue. However, this picture depicts me with a happy, jubilant smile stumbling across our flyer for the event for the Oriental Dance Festival. Why do I have this here? Because Hawaii has, I believe, legislation where we do not allow handbills or flyers to be placed up. I am committed to aesthetics as much as the next person, and maybe even a little more addicted. I also have extreme OCD tendencies, and I like things to be neat and clean. However, this type of man on the street flyering is really a very organic approach and a very natural approach, and means, wait, don't change the image. Go back. Okay. Anyway, this image, flyering is something that it's of the moment. And yes, maybe it needs to be monitored to make sure it doesn't get out of hand. But you know what? When I go and I travel, I really rely on those flyers as a means to see what's going on, whether it's an art exhibit, a dance program, a music concert, a hair show, whatever it may be. Flyering is still effective. I know we're in a land of digital media and social media, but you can never underestimate the power and the impact that a simple flyer leaflet can have on the person passing by. That's my 2 cents, something maybe that can be revisited or looked into. I'm not saying in residential areas. This is clearly not a residential area that this flyer is posted in. This is in a business area, in a business and a district, arts district. So clearly there's probably some guidelines about that, but something that's worth looking into. All right, Maestro, our next image, looking at the monitor here. Look at these wonderful cookies. They're so schön. So all throughout Germany and throughout Bavaria, you will see these types of sweets that are offered at street fairs and Oktoberfest. And this is here featured at Winter Market, Weinmarket Nacht. Yes, my German is really bad, but I made an effort. And these are heart-shaped cookies that have kind of like a gingerbread flavor, for those of you who are curious about the taste, and they're decorated with ornamental frosting, which also can be, it's edible. And I don't know if you can see, but there's text on them. So you might have something that says, "For my sweetheart," or "I love you," etc., etc. And I found this to be very novel. Now clearly in Germany, that's the mother tongue. It wouldn't seem as novel as it would to me, being from Hawaii. But it made me think, why don't we have any type of baked goods in Hawaii that promotes the Hawaiian language? I mean, putting aloha on a cookie would be easy enough. But why not a cookie that says, "Live aloha"? Hey, Paul Klink. There's numerous beautiful phrases. These cookies could be a means and to promote and to create awareness and education for the Hawaiian language, the Hawaiian values, the mores that we here in Hawaii find to be of interest, are worthy and edible. So that was just a thought that came to mind. And when I see these cookies, I think, why don't we have something like this? Now, granted, it's tied into a cultural significance, and I'm sure there's a tradition that follows, but traditions are only traditions if they're upkept and they're maintained, and they have to start somewhere. So a tradition just doesn't, it's not like you've done it forever and you don't know why, and sometimes that is the case, but it has to always have a beginning. So why not now? Hey, it's almost 2014. Let's start a new tradition. Let's have cookies with Hawaiian slogans. Why not? Alrighty. Maestro, our next image. What do we have here? Does anybody out there know who this is? If you say no, I'm just going to have to cry a tear of sadness. It's Fred Astaire, ladies and gentlemen. It's Fred Astaire. Now, you're wondering, what the heck does this have to do with Hawaii? Not very much. However, this is a depiction of Fred Astaire in front of La Tour Eiffel, the Eiffel Tower, and I find it fascinating because whenever you go on carnival rides throughout Europe, they have they change the imagery, but the images are to reflect things of pop culture. And usually you'll see some really bad airbrush pictures of Britney Spears or Fast and the Furious. I've seen those on rides when I was in Switzerland this past summer. They had an event called Zurich Fest that happens every 3 or 4 years. Anyway, it's a big party that brings in 2 million people, 2 million of your closest friends to enjoy the street fair. I digress. The rides that they had here in Germany, one of these panels featured Fred Astaire, and I just thought it was really charming and enduring to see that someone of dance from the 20th century, and quite frankly, a very long time ago, still has some cachet and some value, and his image is there. So for those naysayers who think that musical theater, musicals, song and dance in general, hold no value or interest, I think this proves you wrong. Fred Astaire's mug was painted on the side of a carnival ride. Alrighty, we need to take a quick little break because that's what we do from time to time. Don't leave. We'll be right back. This is The Art of Life, and I'm your host, Willow Chang Alion.
Aloha, I'm Nicole Horry for ThinkTech. For nearly half a century, the Hawaii Foreign Trade Zone No. 9 has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBET, the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone's mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org. I'm Nicole Horry. Mahalo.
Aloha, and if you're just joining us, you've tuned into The Art of Life. I'm your host, Willow Chang Alion, here broadcasting on ThinkTech Hawaii. We are located in the heart of Honolulu in downtown, downstairs in the Pioneer Plaza building, and we have programming 5 days a week, including the weekend. So check us out at thinktechhawaii.com. You can also see archival shows and footage on YouTube. You can also listen to us on Spreaker. If you have concerns or questions or comments, you're welcome to contact me on Facebook, and also give a shout out to our producer, Mr. J. Fidel. Alrighty, so today I am the guest. I'm not interviewing myself, but instead I'm giving some insights and ideas of things I saw on my recent trip to Europe. I was in both Germany and Switzerland performing and teaching at various dance events and festivals. And I took some photos, and I'm giving some insight on things that I thought might be of interest that we could somehow adopt or use here in Hawaii for our own creative purposes. So let me see what picture we have up. This is the Ferris wheel. Now, this is Duisburg at nighttime, and as I might have mentioned earlier, all throughout Germany as well as Switzerland, this time of year they have something called the winter markets. And this is actually something that drives tourism in Europe, is that people go to these winter markets and they go on tours, just as some people might go on a pub crawl. So you might go to a winter market in Munich, then you hop on the train, you go to a winter market in Duisburg and Düsseldorf and Berlin and what have you. Same thing in Switzerland. So each little village or large town or gathering place, they have these winter markets, and what they are vendors that are set up in these little stalls. They kind of look like animal stalls of sorts, or little chalets, and they sell their wares. We'll see some pictures of that later. Everything from food to home goods, things for the pets, for children, clothing, jewelry, what have you. Knives, scissors, pens, boxes, candles, I mean the list, Christmas ornaments, the list goes on. And each place has a variety of things that are different, and not only do the vendors represent the local flavor, but apparently there is a network where vendors go and travel to different winter markets, or they come from other countries, and this is what they do this time of year, is they set up shop. I met a gentleman from India, and he goes around the world and sells things, jewelry and what have you. So something interesting. The Ferris wheel is kind of the focal point at the Duisburg Wine Market event. However, in Düsseldorf itself, they have a full-time Ferris wheel, full-time big wheel, and this is not exclusive to Düsseldorf. You know that they have this in London as well. There's certainly Santa Monica Pier has a big wheel, and I know that quite some time ago Mr. Andy Anderson had recommended that we erect a large big wheel in Kaka'ako as a focal point, and people snickered and they thought it was ridiculous. You know what? I think it's time we revisit this. If we are going to go full tilt boogie and build 22 condominiums in Kaka'ako, certainly we can have something as cool as a Ferris wheel. A Ferris wheel is a family entertainment. It can be done for visitors, it can be done for children. It's a beautiful scenic vista. It's a gathering place, and once you put it there, just like a Starbucks, everybody's going to come and flock to it. I think personally there's more value in having a large Ferris wheel, which can look really groovy on postcards, and then you have to make a whole bunch of merchandise to sell that stuff to promote it, from t-shirts to mouse pads and postcards and keychains featuring the big wheel. I think it has more inherent value visually than, say, the wave machine that has been proposed to build in Kaka'ako, when you can go to Kuala Basin 10 yards away. I mean, what's the purpose of having a wave machine when we live on an island? That's my 2 cents, not intended to offend anybody, but I think a big wheel would be a pretty awesome addition to Honolulu, since we've already pulled out the stops and we've turned into a concrete jungle. Why stop now? Alrighty, moving right along. Isn't this schön? So this is a building that is, we've moved, just in case you're wondering, we've moved from Germany to Switzerland. And this is in Zurich. And this building I thought was really fascinating because it's indicative of the type of architecture you see in today throughout Europe. And there's a lot of different types of architecture that coexist, which makes it so interesting and fascinating and stimulating in these places, because there is an eye to having something from several thousand years ago to a couple hundred years ago to something that's very now. You can have Gothic and Bauhaus within the same block, and it's pretty cool. But contemporary architecture, this is something that you see a lot, this design aesthetic, where it literally is like a glass house. It definitely plays into the mindset of valuing transparency. If you work in this type of environment, well, I don't think you feel that you can hide a whole lot. But the plus side is that it looks very pretty. For those of you who like pretty things, and I'm pretty addicted to that. At nighttime, when it's illuminated and you can see everybody in their little box working, it's actually very pleasant. I think it's far more pleasant to see these glass structures that are visible as opposed to just a concrete box. Or what we have here in Hawaii is our glass boxes are all mirrored, which also creates a hotter environment and raises the temperature. And I'm not making this up, you can Google this. And every time we have a new building in Hawaii that goes up, that's glass, it ends up being a mirrored building. It sends out a very different message. I think if we're going to go with glass, we should go for transparency. And I think psychologically, transparency can have good ramifications. And I'm not talking NSA. I'm talking about being open up front, responsible, accountable for your actions. So when you're in a glass box, it's hard to hide a lot. Let's see the next picture, because this was a picture that I took from a car, from a moving vehicle, of that same building. And there you are, you can see the people hard at work, working very hard, right? Working until the midnight hour. It's actually not that late, it's probably about 4:45, but it starts to get dark kind of early on that side of the world. So that's my 2 cents. Let's rock it with glass instead of mirrored buildings. I think it's aesthetically more interesting. Okay, our next image. We're hopscotching back and forth. Oh no, we are in Switzerland now. We've moved from Zurich to Basel. So I was lucky enough to go and teach at the Allegria Club, did performances and taught some classes there. And this is right in front of the Bahnhofstrasse. So that's the Bahn. Die Bahn is the train. The train station in any city tends to be the hub of activity and is a source of inspiration and movement, and it's just a dynamic place to be. Here in front of the train station, we also have the trams. So this is my rant on public transportation. Public transportation works exceedingly well in Europe, having gone on it in different forms. And yes, when I'm traveling, I use public transportation. When I'm home, I'm used public transportation from time to time. And since it took me, about 30 years to get my driver's license, I can definitely say I know where the number 2 and the 13 and the 5 will take you here in Honolulu. The idea of having elevated rail, I think, is just silly. This show is not about that. We can have a discussion about that later. However, rail that's in the center median strip of small streets, and for those of you who say, oh, but Hawaii is too small, have you been to Switzerland? It's tiny. It's just everything is in miniature. It's like the land of the Lilliputians. Big ideas, small execution. The streets are very small, and they have trams that go down the center main street, and it works like a charm. So it also doesn't obstruct all of the architecture and the other wonderful just buildings and life that's already been established. I really think that this is something we should look into. If we're gonna go build an expensive train set, please stick it on the ground. That's my 2 cents. We can discuss more of this later. Alrighty, moving right along. Isn't this schön? Schön is the word for the day. It's beautiful. I've said it many, many, many times on the trip. And here's also an image of Basel. This one here's wintertime. I have some from the summer as well. And I just want you to see what we have here. So it might be a little difficult, but I'm going to narrate what we've got. We have a center marketplace. This is right in front of the Rathaus, and that's the central government. That's kind of basically where the Bürgermeister, the mayor, and I guess like their city council do their thing. And in this center plaza, we have a lot of foot traffic. We have a beautiful giant Christmas tree, as we have at Honolulu Hale. And every week they have vendors that do open market, just as we have now in Hawaii, a lot of open market. So if you like that type of thing, that's what you can find. The butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, that's pretty much what you're going to find. Fresh flowers, what are those things that you kiss under? Mistletoe. Wreaths, baked goods. Okay, on the, I'm not sure what it would be, but on one side, across from the Rathaus, you have the tram. Actually, you have the tram that goes on both sides. So you have transportation. But primarily, it is almost exclusively tram, on foot, or bicycles. Do you see all those bicycles? My camera is not wide enough where I can give you the full scope of that. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bicycles. In the summertime, it might even be twice as many bicycles, and I can show you a picture of that later. Why am I addressing this? Because this idea that we can have foot traffic, places that are driven strictly by foot traffic, I don't know why in Hawaii we do not have more of this. Park and ride, or underground structures, or places where you park. And you find this all throughout Europe. You find this in Zurich, you find this in the south of France. If you go to Aix-en-Provence, you park your car and you walk to the main shopping district, or you bicycle over, or you take public transportation. You increase the livelihood of a city and the dynamics and the flow if you have foot traffic, and if you limit it. If you have cars, you kill it. I think everybody knows this. You don't have to be a genius to figure this out. Hawaii has wonderful weather year-round. We should encourage this. It's also healthier for people to walk. It's healthier for business for people to have that foot traffic. And if you're wondering, it was below freezing, right? So, I mean, sometimes it's 28, 29, 30 degrees, and people are riding their bicycle. So, for those of you who think, oh, we can't do this, look at what they're doing. I'm not trying to say we are behind. I'm saying that we can be inspired by these ideas, and we should really encourage more bicycles and create a bicycle-friendly place as well. I don't like to ride my bicycle because I think I'm going to become roadkill, but when I'm not in Hawaii, I ride a bicycle with frequency and with my helmet. Think about that. We have to take a little break and we'll be right back.
Aloha, I'm Jay Fidel for ThinkTech. For nearly half a century, the Hawaiian Foreign Trade Zone, number 9, has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBED, the Hawaii Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program. It does so to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org. I'm Jay Fidel of ThinkTech. Mahalo.
Aloha and welcome to joining us here at The Art of Life. I'm your host, Willow Chang. Our show runs every Friday from 2 to 3. Even in my absence, they're going to not leave you high and dry. They're going to put some programming that will be thoughtful and thought-provoking as well. Today, I am the guest, as well as the host, and I'm basically sharing some insights, ideas, and hopefully inspirations about what I saw on my recent trip in Europe. I was in both Germany and Switzerland performing and teaching, and I've been there multiple times, and each time I go there, I think to myself, why can't we borrow some of these ideas and put them into action here in Hawaii? So let it be known, I love Hawaii. This is my home place, but I also feel that when you love a place, you need to be realistic and look at what works and what is not working. So this is done with loving respect to Hawaii and great profound respect for some of the things that seem to work greatly abroad. So what's our next image here? Ah, yes. This is a cityscape, and this is again to show what the energy is like. It's hard to capture something like energy, but this is right in front of the Bahnhof in Zurich. Now, this is a major hub. It brings travelers from all over the world and certainly all over Europe. So when we're on an island, we are not going to have that same dynamic. I'm aware of that. We obviously can't have a train that's going to bring people from Oakland or Hilo or Nagoya, right? But you can create an energy, and I do understand the appeal of that. But I also want you to see, hopefully you can see, the trams in Zurich, again, are at street level. They have nothing that is raised. They do not have a single raised tram or train in Zurich. And if I'm wrong, please feel free to write in and tell me I'm wrong. But they're all on the ground. Something to consider. Alrighty, moving right along. Okay, here we are. This is in one of the major shopping districts. I have a hare that's attacking me. Okay. One of the major shopping districts in Zurich, because it is a shopper's paradise. You would be surprised to know that many of the same shops that we have on Kalakau Avenue, which resembles Rodeo Drive, are the exact same shops that they have in Zurich. So this is the Bahnhofstrasse and the surrounding areas. It's a very rich and chic and very Tony place to go shopping if you want something from Brioni or Chanel or Prada, Montblanc pens, the list goes on. This is where you go and you spend your kala. But they also have things for the common man, like Coop, the shopping center that I mentioned, and then really big, beautiful shopping places and palaces, Yamoli, Globus, etc. So, and then shops that are integrated, that are maybe affordable at every price point, like Zara or H&M, which we'll be getting an H&M in Waikiki soon. I wanted you to see the lighting display. Now, some of you might think, oh, well, it's different in Europe because it gets dark and the nights are longer, therefore they put more of an emphasis on the light. Maybe that is a reasoning. It doesn't change the fact that, well, we have nighttime here in Hawaii as well. And we have a fantastic display of lights with the Honolulu City Lights. I think it's one of the coolest things in recent memory that our local government has done for the people. I go to it several times a year. When I have visitors, I take them to it as well. It's definitely an investment in the people. I think it's wonderful. Now here, this is something that is driven by the funds with the stores, but I like these suspended illuminated lights that are hanging in the center of the street. And if you see old photos of Kaimuki, they used to do that, where they would have this type of lighting bunting, I'm going to just call it that, with a Christmas bell in the center or an ornament, and it would go across the expanse from one side to the other overhead. So if you were driving your car or walking, you would have lights overhead. You also see this type of thing in Little Italy if you've been to New York City. This is a festive thing that can be done. Why can't we string Chinese lanterns in Chinatown? Why can't we have each of these different neighborhoods have lighting displays that reflect the areas of the places that you're visiting? Kaimuki could have their own lights, Liliha could have their own lights, Chinatown could have their own lighting display. It's something that's worth looking into, and now that we have LEDs and we have action and I should say options with solar, these things do not have to be costly. And I think you would find that the interest and the traffic that it would drive, and I don't mean congestion, I'm talking about good traffic, energy, commerce, exchange of ideas, it would be worth the investment. So that's my 2 cents. I see these lights, they have this type of thing also in Istanbul, and I'm thinking, why don't we have something similar like this in Hawaii? It's just begging to be done. My 2 cents. Okay, next image. Let's talk food. Hawaii has become a land of foodies. What I mean by that is, yes, we've always used foods as a means to communicate and to share good times, right? Kanakapila, have some food, barbecue. Anytime there's a party, there's food. Anytime you go to a housewarming, you bring food, yes. However, now with our Pacific Rim cuisine that's been kicking around perhaps for about 25 years, with our culinary arts, with our farmers markets, hey, look at that. What was it? The guys who won the, what's that thing called? The lunch truck thing. You know what I'm talking about. We've got some street cred in the food arena. We have access to fresh seafood, all of those things. We used to be a very agricultural-based community. That's kind of changed. Who knows? Maybe we can change the tide and go back there. Fingers crossed. But we do love our food, and I wanted you to see what a supermarket looks like in Switzerland. The thing that I was really bowled over is the amount of choices. I mean, it is amazing. So I think this first image, I can't see because I admit it's a little on the tiny side, but they have all different types of herbs, plants, vegetables in small serving portions, pre-made salads and things like that. And I just thought, well, that's great. For someone who doesn't cook, like me, it's good to go. Yes, we have the pre-made wash salad that comes in a bag. This is not that. This is something entirely different. These are what some might define as gourmet. I think what's really interesting is what we define as gourmet is considered pretty natural in many parts of Europe. So it's not a gourmet thing to have fresh vegetables. It's not a gourmet thing to have a soup with a meal. It's not a gourmet thing to have something other than one type of cheese. It's not gourmet to have bubbles in your water. So these are some things to think about. I have another picture of food. Look at that. That's cheese. That's cheese and yogurt. Now, yes, there's huge cheese and yogurt industries and dairy industries. I understand that. But there is also the demand and the interest. So I'm just thinking, why are we subject to always having cheeses at a premium? And yes, we ship everything to Hawaii, but we also have dairies here in Hawaii. We have local dairies, we have dairies that make goat cheese and all of these products. This is something for us just to think about. And dairy is a great source of vitamin D and calcium and all those good things. So I really appreciated the choice, and it's just a normal type of thing in this part of the world. So I think we're going to move from food to another topic, and I'll be sending the link to her. This is my dear friend Simone, and I have to explain what this is, so you have to forgive me. The lighting on this is pretty poor, but it's the thought that counts. In Zurich, as I mentioned, it's a very tiny little place. They have parking zones. And this is surprising to me because almost everything in Zurich costs money, but they do have parking areas that the parking is free. They are zones that are painted as such and indicated, and what you need is you have to bring out your little dial. So you apply for this thing, it's a little rotary dial, and you, by the honor system, put what time you showed up, and they give you up to 15 free hours to park on the street. Can you imagine that, friends? I had a hard time wrapping my brain around it. It was fascinating. It's the honor system. It's free parking. It's also structured and it's regulated. This is proof that these things can exist. They can coexist. They are not diametrically opposed to each other. You can have structure, and you can have the honor system, and you can have something for free, and you can make it work. Now, another thing I found of interest is that when you're issued a ticket, the funds and revenues generated by these tickets are what supports the police system. Interesting. The other thing is you can see they allow people to park on the curb. This is a very normal thing. They also have perpendicular parking if your car is small enough, because we understand it's a small place. So Simone, who has a smart car, which is probably the smallest car on the market, can park perpendicular. We never sweated about parking spaces because we know she's always going to be able to find a place for her small car. Some very interesting things for us to think about in the future, Hawaii. Think about it. It's my last picture. I wanted to also say this about the honor system. The tram, you're supposed to buy your ticket, but they work on the honor system. Every blue moon they have a guard that might check to see if you have a ticket. But that's how they roll. Now, I'm not sure if such a thing in Hawaii would work. How are we going to monitor who's paying for the ticket or the token? We don't even know what the price is per ride. I mean, we need to ask ourselves some of these questions. So I'm going to look at my little list here just to make sure I went through all of them. To wrap it up, what did we see? We saw the big wheel, right? The idea of having a focal point in Kakako or Waikiki that's family-oriented, that's entertainment, that would generate a new interest in products and energy. The Ferris wheel, I think, is an idea that really should be revisited. Many great cities around the world have one, and I think Andy Anderson had a great idea suggesting that we have one as well. Unless we want to have a Honolulu sign like Hollywood on Diamond Head, and I don't think people would like that. The amount of selection. You can never underestimate the importance of selection. Selection is a sign of a very healthy economy. I saw this both in Germany and Switzerland, whether it was a supermarket or the winter market. There is always selection, and I think we need to think about that overall, because with all of the various mergers that we've had with media, with transportation, with companies, we lose the choice of selection, or we are given the illusion of choice, and that's not really what's going on. So you need to be vigilant about that and stay on top of that. The honor system is a means for parking and for trams, and just the parking system, perpendicular parkings, free parking with the dial, kind of some interesting concepts there that are executed in Switzerland. The return to allowing flyering and the passing of leaflets to promote the arts in certain areas, as seen at the earlier images in Germany. We should really look into that. The Hawaiian cookies, right? The cookies with a slogan or a phrase, different types of means to promote Hawaii. So this is not about simply copying things, this is about adapting. And Hawaii is all about adapting, even from our birds and our trees that changed and modified to Hawaii, and now you can only find them here. Hawaii's history from the very beginning has always been about being adaptive and being able to be responsive to the changes necessary for survival. I don't think we should be afraid of looking at what's out there with things that have a proven track record that actually work in systems and places that value logical things, productivity, and things that work. And let's be frank, the Swiss and the Germans value these things greatly. They really, really do. They put them they are paramount to their structure of how the system works, is that it has to be functioning, it has to be beautiful, and it has to prove its value. So if you're gonna get nervous about it, you shouldn't be so nervous, because I am a believer. I'm a believer, and I've been to Switzerland 7 times. I've been to Germany 4 times, and each time I go, I am completely impressed from start to finish of the selection, the logical approach to things, the way that the consideration that's taken for the common person. There is a respect. You're not treated like cattle. They want to see what's going to work best for the individual, and understanding that that helps the community. So yes, they're community-based systems that also understand that the individual needs need to be taken care of. And this is something that I think that we are definitely losing our way. We need to return to this approach, because if we don't, I'm not a naysayer, but I don't think it's going to be a positive outcome. You know, that's my 2 cents on the matter. Do you have any thoughts on the matter? You're welcome to send us a line. ThinkTechHawaii.com. We're on Facebook, ThinkTech Hawaii. Willow Chang Leon, that's me. You can go to Willow Chang Dance. You can say, I agree with you, or you're selling us out, or I disagree, or tell me more about it, Mama Chang. I have lots of pictures. These are just a few images that I threw on a stick and thought I would share with you guys. I write extensively and at length about what I see in my travels around the world. I think it's essential to step outside of ourselves and see what's out there, to be honest about take your temperature and see what's going on, what works and what can be improved upon. And that's the beauty of travel. And when I share these things, it's not to assert that I'm better than you, or, ooh, aren't I so lucky, which I actually am pretty lucky. But as someone who didn't travel a lot in my youth because I wasn't in a position financially to do so, I really enjoy traveling, and I really enjoy making connections and learning about other people and different systems, places, and environments. And this is what motivates me to share it with you. It's not to say these guys are better and we suck, because we don't suck. But you know what? Improvement is a beautiful thing, because at the heart of improvement is humility, and it shows that you always know that there's something better to aspire for, and hopefully it keeps your feet on the ground, even if they don't have shoes on. So that's my thoughts. This is today's show, hoping that next week we'll have some holiday fare for you to start to close out the year. Always a joy and a pleasure. Hope you join us every Friday from 2 to 3, The Art of Life on Think Tech Hawaii. And if you don't know by now, I'm Willow Chang Leon. It's always a pleasure.